After the massive disappointment that was Frozen, and the even more massive disappointment that was Maleficent, I was honestly afraid that Disney might have lost their touch, and that the term good Disney movie might become an oxymoron. Fortunately, that's not the case. With Big Hero 6, they've rebounded in a big way, and while it's not a perfect film, it is a vast improvement that shows that they still know what they're doing. The story centers on Hiro Hamada, a 14-year-old genius who's already graduated high school and doesn't really have any ambitions for the future. He spends his nights betting on robot fights and hustling the adult players who underestimate him because of his age. That all changes when his older brother Tadashi introduces him to his friends at the Nerd Lab at San Francisco Tech. The sarcastic, tomboyish Go-Go, the friendly but OCD Wasabi, the perky mad scientist Honey Lemon, and the laid-back school mascot Fred, who is pretty much a G-rated version of Jay from the Jay and Silent Bob movies. Hiro is so impressed with what he sees that he decides to apply to go there too. It looks like he's finally going to get his life on track, but then something happens that sends him in an entirely different, unexpected direction. I don't want to spoil too much of the plot, so I'll leave it there. More so than the plot, which is fairly standard stuff, but still above average for a superhero film, what really makes this movie are the characters. While the group from the Nerd Lab don't get as much development as I would have liked, they're all interesting and engaging enough that you want to know more about them. However, this lack of development is forgivable because the directors correctly realized that the real heart of the story was the relationship between Hiro and Baymax. Baymax is an invention of Hiro's brother Tadashi and was made to be a prototype for a healthcare robot and was programmed with taking care of Hiro as its primary function. Being a robot, Baymax doesn't understand hyperbole or figures of speech and has a very childlike personality, and this leads to a lot of funny and heartwarming scenes as he tries to comfort Hiro after Tadashi's death, and Hiro in turn tries to teach Baymax not to take everything so literally, with mixed results. It's easy to imagine that Hiro and Baymax will become one of those iconic Disney duos like Lilo and Stitch, Ralph and Vanellope, Mowgli and Baloo, or Timon and Pumbaa. Some viewers will likely draw comparisons between this film and The Iron Giant, and they're not wrong. The interactions between Hiro and Baymax are very reminiscent of those between Hogarth and the Giant, and while no one at Disney has said as much, it wouldn't surprise me to find out that that film was an influence. Personally, as soon as Baymax started talking, I immediately thought of the ship from Flight of the Navigator. Any hardcore Disney fans in the audience will know what I'm talking about. Once the villain appears and the action-y part of the story starts, some viewers may find it predictable, and they're not wrong either. However, in this case, being predictable isn't totally a bad thing. It's as if the Disney animators looked at all the films Marvel has made over the last 16 years, figured out what made those movies work from a narrative standpoint, and then boiled it down to its purest essence. This is a comic book movie in the best possible sense, and all the elements that people love and would expect to see are all here and done very, very well. If you sit through the credits, and you should, the film does provide an epilogue of sorts with a series of manga-style images showing what happened to the characters after the story. I assume this is Disney's way of hedging their bets so that the story is more or less complete in case there aren't any sequels. This is a smart move, creatively speaking, but I sincerely hope they do continue it in some form. If they don't want to do another movie, a TV series would work just as well, probably better in this case. I give Big Hero 6 4 stars out of 5 for outstanding action and great characters you'll definitely want to see more of. Check it out.